Do you want to know how to make yourself worth 10 times more than you are right now? Then you're going to want to hang out and check out this episode of Beautiful Minds. Let's do it. Your mind is a beautiful thing, but if left unattended, it can get ugly real quick. If you're not constantly curating the content your mind consumes on a daily basis, then your surroundings will dictate your daily thoughts, habits, behaviors, and actions. This show has only one goal: to leave your mind more beautiful than it was when you arrived. Welcome to the Beautiful Mind Show. What's going on, guys? It's Jason Everett, your host today for the Beautiful Mind Show. And with me today is the gorgeous, the amazing, the fun, the entertaining Holly Fox. What's up, Holly?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jason. How are you? It's good to be here.
Yeah, so glad to have you on today. I want to talk about the subject of increasing your worth. Man, this is such a big topic. And Holly, we were talking about this when we were doing show prep, right? We were talking about how do you increase your worth. And yeah, I just was hearing you cough. I may cough, still getting over some of me anyway, on my end. I'm still getting over the Rona over here. So, if you hear me coughing, you know what's going on. But what I would say is, I was having a session the other day with one of my coaches, and this topic came up on this word, worthiness. And I just want you guys to if you've ever had a self-doubt or thought like, am I worthy of making that income? Am I worthy of having a great relationship? I think that's where doubt in my mind, Holly, sometimes really creeps in. If I'm really transparent and honest, is like, that kicks my butt. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Is like, I go, sure. Like and here's where it comes up the most, in my opinion. And it's very easy for people to say, don't compare yourself to others, right? Super easy, right? Well, Holly, don't compare yourself to anybody else. You don't know their story. You don't know their background. Just run your race. Just do your thing. But if you guys ever have compared yourself to others, would you do me a favor and in the chat say guilty? Because I am guilty of that one all the time. Like, Holly, have you ever met somebody who I meet a lot of people who run the same kind of business that I have. And then they say things like, they're like, well, I just started 6 months ago and they make 10 times more than me some magical way. And I'm like, screw you. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I've been doing this for 13 years and you come and do it in 6 months, whatever. I'm like, well, Jason, you don't know their background. I'm like, yes, I do. They're 22 years old. I know their background, and I get frustrated. Like, if you've ever compared yourself, this conundrum of comparison. And I really work hard on this one. And I think what it really boils down to, Holly, is if you're really honest, you're questioning your worthiness when you say, why can't I have what they have? Exactly. Like, it's such a human trait that we have to compare ourselves, right? And maybe it's because I'm the older brother and I have a younger brother, right? Is like, so there was always like, well, I was this age and we always had a point of comparison, right? Or my cousin was always comparing myself to my older cousin or your younger brother or whatever it was. And there's this point of comparison. And it's very easy to say, don't compare yourself to others. But can I just say it's really hard? And if you've had a hard time with that one, comment hard as we're talking about this during the show today.
Because it's funny
go ahead.
That you're talking about where you're the older and then you have a younger brother. I was the youngest one. And my brothers always compared because they're like, well, Holly got to do whatever she wanted. Holly gets to do this. And as a younger one, it was like, well, if they get to do that, I'm going to do it too, and
right.
Like ride their bikes uptown or be able to have that freedom. So,
yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we're talking about kids. This is what I was thinking about. I shot a video this morning. I was talking about this, is that if you ever question your worthiness, it's probably because you're comparing yourself. Right? You're like, why don't I have the income yet? Why don't I have the job yet? Why don't I have the business yet? Why don't I have, for single people, like, why don't I have that perfect spouse yet? Why don't I have this yet? Or maybe you're married and you're like, why don't I have the relationship that my friends have? It looks so much better than my relationship. And you're like, is there something wrong with me? Is there something I'm not doing? Is there something, like, am I supposed to like eat celery every day in order to have that body that I want to have? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, we all doubt, right? And I think what happens, Holly, is like, if you really want to know what you're worthy of, and if you have children, which, you and I both have kids, right. If you have children and you've ever held a baby and you look at that baby, and by the way, you'll know exactly as I say it as you listen to the show today, is that when you look at that child and you ask yourself, what are they worthy of? And the answer is super simple. They're worthy of everything. Like, it's like,
Everything.
I remember holding both my boys when they were brand new, and I'm like, they are worthy of everything. Like, it makes me it's borderline going to wreck my soul right now as I think about it, right?
Yeah.
Is this idea that it literally, they're worthy of everything. So why the hell, Holly, in our lives as we get older, the older we get, we become worthy of less? Why? Why is that in your mind? Why do you think that is? Any
I think a
thought?
lot of times it's that, to your point, the comparison, and it's also at some point, it's like we were talking about this earlier. We talk about people being spoiled, or like kids being, or, oh, let them learn the hard way, or don't give them too much. And I do think that there's a lot of that as we're,
Like, that gets in their
trying to
psyche,
be,
right?
yeah, as we're trying to be parents, my parents said it to me, oh, don't give your kids everything, and then my oldest daughter was in a divorce situation. So then it was the parents that were going back and forth. And I do think that happens a lot with people,
Yeah.
is that comparison
Yeah.
or spoiling type thing.
Well, that's some really good framework. I mean, I come from a divorced family. My mom and dad got divorced when I was about 8 years old. It's ironic, right? Like, my son is 8 years old right now, and that's about the time that my parents got divorced when I was younger. And I remember there was a lot of things about them getting divorced that did create a lot of comparison. And the comparison is like, oh, this kid is more like my brother was more like my dad. I was more like my mom. But what was really interesting about things regarding the divorce is my parents' definition of something that I think caused a lot of chaos, which was fairness. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, man. I was just on Holly. We were doing a call earlier, and we were talking about this with some of our leaders in our wealth building program that we do, and we were talking about, well, hey, if I split my wealth, this is how the question came up. Okay, if I split my wealth, do I give it equally to my 2 children, or like, what if one of them has 3 kids, one of them has no kids? So do I split it at the grandkid level, or at this? Like, there was this whole discussion about it. And I was like, oh my God, I could do a whole, like, show on just this subject. But it's this discussion of fairness. Is what does it mean to be fair? And my parents, this was always interesting. And my parents, I don't know if they ever consciously thought about it, but I've processed it and dealt with it and like realized what the chaos was. Is that both my parents had a very different definition of the word fairness. Is my mom's definition of the word fairness, because she was the oldest, meaning she was the oldest in her family. My mom's definition of fair was like, when you reach a certain age, you can have a certain thing. And then my dad's definition of fairness, because he was the youngest, like you, Holly, I'm the oldest, you're the youngest, right? So my dad's definition of fair was like, if one kid gets it, so should all the other kids, because that's fair, because you shouldn't have to watch one kid have it and another kid not. And the question is, who the hell's right? Who's right? The one who says get it when you reach a certain age, or the one who says if one kid has it, so should everybody else? I want to know. You guys tell me in the chat, or yell at whatever cell phone or car you're listening on. Yell it. Who's right? My mom or my dad? Is my mom right, or is my dad right? Who's right? When you reach a certain age, or one should have it, so should the other one? Because that honestly like ruled my whole life. And it created a lot of conflict, because my mom was like, nope, you can't have it till this. And my dad was like, yep, gonna get it right away. And this happened over and over again. And I want to say this, neither one is right, and both is right at the same time.
Right.
Because the answer is, it really kind of depends. Like, so how I choose to define it is like, look, the government is only going to let you get your kid a driver's license when they're 16. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you're going to have to be a certain age.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, you can only buy a lottery ticket when you turn 18, or all these other things you get to do. Like, there are ages, right, that are like, you have to wait and earn your way there. But with my kids, it is very similar. I can't like, get some video games for one kid and then make the other kid say, well, in 3 years, when you're old enough, then you'll be able to touch that video game. Like, it just doesn't work that way. There's some things that like, hey, you can both do it, even though you're different ages. There's a thing you can do, but there will be these moments in life that says you must be this tall to ride this ride. But rewind back to what we're talking about on worthiness. Because I think worthiness talks about, how do you value your self-worth? And this episode is about, how do you make your self-worth 10 times more? The number one thing I will give you, hot tip number 1, is understand that you are worthy of everything, right? Your kids are worthy of everything. You are worthy of everything, but you take yourself out by creating these comparison analogies of like, you must be this tall to ride this ride. You must do this in order to earn this. Like, there's this idea that it has to be earned somehow. The value of you is based on somebody else's perception or somebody else's decision of your worthiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that goes into like relationships, like
Hmm.
people that, as you get into your 20s and 30s, like, oh, I should be married or I should have kids by this point, and that your worthiness is
Right.
based
By
on
now.
whether or not, pardon?
By now, I should have already done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, or people that are in relationships, like, I'm not worthy unless I'm in a relationship or, having those types of
Hmm.
things, and I do think that that happens a lot more when we're younger than when, we're getting into the, our 40s or 50s. But then it's a
Yeah.
comparison, like, why do the younger people move faster than we do? Because I see it all the time with my team. Like, they're knocking stuff out all the time because 'cause they're way younger and they have a little less fear with some of that too.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, right? Is talking about it is what's the fear threshold? What is your knowledge threshold? Like all of those things factor into place. But I think the most dangerous place, if you're talking about your own self-worth and your own value and making yourself worth 10 times more, you get to pay attention to what questions are you asking yourself. And I think it's the most dangerous question to ask if you say, am I worthy or am I worth it? Holly, we work a lot with salons and spas. Obviously you own a salon and spa, and one of the things about raising prices comes up all the time. Now I work with a lot of people who are like not in the salon spa industry, but they're speakers, and the question becomes like, well, how do you raise your price as a speaker when you're going around and speaking on these major stages? Like, what is it that you need to know in order to charge more? And it's really interesting is that the real answer that I found from charging a little and charging a lot is it's whatever the bleepity bleep you ask for and you
Right.
feel you deserve, you will get paid. Like, is
Yeah.
that weird?
I don't think it's weird. I just think most of us don't think that way. Most of us are
Yeah.
waiting for somebody else to tell us what we're worth, not us
Correct.
tell them.
Correct. You nailed it. Nailed it, right? Is that we're waiting for somebody to say, you're worth this. And even as a speaker, for example, even as a speaker, you're waiting for a client to pay you at a certain rate. And you're like, okay, well, that's my self worth. And I'll tell you how I solved it a long time ago. And you guys might be able to do this as well, to help you 10 times your worth of what you do. Is you want to slowly raise your prices in a way that helps bump up your value. I'll give you, for instance, now I'm coughing, right? I'll give you for instance. When I first started coaching people and I was charging an hourly rate, I charged a very minimum hourly rate. And I wanted to see, would anybody even pay that rate to do coaching? Like I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know what do coaches charge. They charge this much. Okay, cool. I'll charge that. And I charged it. And as soon as my schedule got decently full of clients, I was like, well, hey, now the next client I want to take on, I'm going to raise my rate for that next client because now I'm full. I'm getting value. I've seen that that's the market price. It's getting weighed in for what I can do. And people are getting value out of that. And I doubled my price for coaching. I doubled my price. And then what ended up happening is I got rid of, like, as some of my lower end clients dropped off, I replaced them with the higher end clients who were paying double. And then I shifted into that double price point. Then I started losing a couple clients at that double price point, and I started adding on clients at double again that price point, and double again, and double again. And I probably doubled, I don't know, 4 or 5 times I doubled my prices, right? And then the question became, and I want you guys to hear this, and I'm going to talk about how to do it because I think this is another opportunity for you to 10x. But I got to take a short break. There's another opportunity for you, even if you say like, oh, Jason, how the hell am I going to double my pricing? When we come back, we'll talk about how do you double, but also how do you get to the point where you get an infinite return and your time becomes 100 times worth what you think your time is. We'll talk about that all when we come right back. Be right back after the short break. Would you like to have an even more beautiful mind? Well, we'd like you to have one, and we actually created a 7-day Beautiful Minds Challenge, which is a little bit of a choose your own adventure challenge for just 7 days. And I really think you can do anything for 7 days. It's definitely not easy, but it will be simple for you to get access to it. All you have to do is comment anywhere on this video or send me a message on social media that says 7-day, and I'll send you immediate access to not only our Beautiful Minds Facebook group, but also our Beautiful Minds Challenge, where you can go through 3 different areas: your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health, and get challenges in each of those areas that'll help you get a handle on each of those areas inside your life to give you more control over what you want to do every single day. So do me a favor, comment 7-day or send me a message on any social media, and I'll make sure I give you access to our exclusive community group as well as access to the challenge. Thanks so much, and now back to the show. Yeah, speaking of self-worth, self-value, and increasing your value, do hard things, man. If you can do things that nobody else can do on planet Earth, people will pay lots of money to come see you and watch you. I'd asked a question, Holly. I was working with these guys that work with a lot of major celebrities, like very, very famous household name, Academy Award winner type celebrities. And I asked them, what's your biggest takeaway working with so many celebrities? And they said, the difference between fame and talent. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, well, the most famous people are famous because of their talent, not famous because of their fame. And it really like struck me as this interesting thing is like, if you want your value and worth to go up, be more rare with what your talent is.
Nice.
It was really interesting, right? It really interesting. And that was, I thought was really, really powerful, right? Is that this entire idea is that if like, again, if you have a magical voice, people want to hear you at a concert, or if you are really powerful as far as, you have a talent like playing a guitar or any instrument or doing a thing or like speaking on stages, the question becomes, how good are you at that thing? Because the better you become at it, the more prestige or the more reach or the more fame or the more impact you will have. So the question becomes, if you're not earning the money you deserve, are you doubling down, tripling down, and becoming better at what you do every single day? Because I think this happens in lots of industries. It is about asking for more. There's a time to ask for more, and there's a time to double down on just being better.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's some people that double down and forget to ask, and there's sometimes people who don't double down. They're just asking, and that's the wrong way to do it too.
Right. Well, when we were talking earlier about the things that you're doing in life, and as a coach, I think we all have those opportunities to do different things to help us get better at what we want to do. When you are new in your career, it's going to be a little different than when you're, a salon owner, or when you are a coach, or when you're a business owner, like all these different things, you start to have new talents that's what people are going to pay you for. As a business owner, my talents are very different than when I was behind the chair with people. So it's a little different. So to your point, really curating what you need or what you deserve to have, and have those talents reflect that.
Yeah. And if that's helpful for you, do me a favor and say talent. Because I do think you got to pay attention to your talent. You got to pay attention to the time and where you spend your talent, and you got to pay attention to your time. I was thinking about this, Holly. This has been a hot subject in my brain recently. Is that I get hung up on this idea that like, why is it that a musician can come and play one song for 3 minutes and get paid $1 million? Like, what is that? Why, or $100,000? I mean, let's just use whatever number, or get paid $10,000 for 3 minutes. Why is it? What is it that they do that one time, that one place, that one thing that you just go, dang, that really is an incredible, like people want to watch it. And it's because they're showcasing their talent. They've spent their time developing their talent. And again, you're not paying for the 3 minutes that you're watching them. You're paying for the thousands of hours they spent refining that 3-minute song that showcases who they are. And what I really believe, I don't mean to go all woo-woo and deep on you with this, but like they're embodying their worthiness. They have that same like expression. And I listen to these musicians and I listen to these people who talk, and I just go, they're living in their fullest version of themselves at that moment, in their fully expressed version of them. And there's such a shortage of that in this world that people want to see it. So the question really becomes for you as an individual, if you want to make more money, are you just doing a job, or are you embodying your fullest worthiness of the gift, the talent, the skill, the effort that you've put into it? Are you really giving it your 1000% effort in every minute of that, whatever they're seeing, whether it's shooting a podcast like we're doing right now, whether it's having a conversation, speaking on a stage, training an employee, helping somebody at the grocery store. It doesn't matter, right? It's like literally, what are you doing to showcase your own self-worth? Do you stand in it? Do you know your value? And are you getting other people to do it? And when you realize that your worth and your potential is unlimited, it can be just a profound gift that you give to people, because people will pay money to see it.
Right. Agreed. Well, and I think one of the gifts that we've talked about before for you, Jason, is the gift of being able to raise people's energy.
Mm,
And, and as a
yeah,
coach, people will pay you to help raise their energy.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
it
Well,
really makes a big difference.
think about music. Music changes your energy, right? Like,
Absolutely.
music can elevate your mood. And I think that's why people pay a lot of money, pay a lot of money. They don't pay a lot of money, but they do it in mass, which ends up making people a lot of money.
Right.
Is music can change your mood in a minute. Right? It's
Yep.
like, let's put on We Are the Champions and try not to be like, yeah, like, you get in this mood within a minute. It's like a 1 minute mood shifter. Right. And you're
Yep.
right. Like I love helping people change their mood. I love it. I love being a mood influencer. I'm adding that to my Instagram title, by the way. Mood influencer. That's what I am. I'm a mood
Yep.
influencer. But the idea is like, if I can help you shift and alter your mood in just a few minutes, then hopefully that's worth more money than it's like, well, you can go and watch a
Mhm.
movie and spend a couple hours, and people do spend money to go watch movies. They can watch a song, they can listen to a song and change their mood. They can do other things and change their mood. And again, if we want to go skydiving today, Holly, that would probably change our mood too, and we'd pay money to go do that.
Absolutely.
So remember, money is exchanged when moods exchange, when talents have been exchanged, when either get showcased and there's talents that you can observe something. That's why people love, and it's interesting. I was thinking about this because Olympians don't always make lots of money, but damn, do we love watching the Olympics. Do you know
Oh,
what I mean? We
yeah.
love watching the Super Bowl. We love watching the Olympics. We love watching World Cup. We love watching people showcase their talents, gifts, and abilities. And I think the thing about, why pro athletes get paid so much money is because we love watching talent,
Yes.
and they've
Agree.
monetized their talent, right? Is like,
Yeah.
we love watching football and soccer and baseball and hockey and all these other things because
Yeah.
you're like, I love watching the struggle and the strife and somebody who's extremely talented showcase their talent. And they've
Right.
monetized it and said, hey, there's interest enough in football every single week that we can televise these games and commercialize these games and do all these things, that we can pay these people top talent. Versus Olympics, they may not get paid the same way, but damn, I still love watching the
Right.
Olympians be showcased with their talent. And the
Yeah.
people who do the best in the Olympics do end up getting endorsements and, commercialize their talents to be able to do those things. So if you want to make 10 times more, you want to make 100 times more, the question is, elevate your talent, hold your level of worthiness, be aware of what you are capable of doing, and you will start to increase your level of value, how people perceive you, and what you're, and hold your own level of value higher than anybody else.
Yeah.
Can I say this, Holly? I love delusional people sometimes, because I'm one of them. I want to be
Yeah.
delusional to the point where my value is well above and beyond what it even is right now, because I want to have that delusional belief that, like, I'm worthy of so much more, but there's just a little bit of gap between me and where I want to be. I want to be so delusional that it's there. Now, you got to back it up with time, talent, practice, all those things. Back it
Right.
up, but get yourself in that position of talent, and it'll be an incredible gift that you can give to other people. Anything you want to say as we close out, Holly? I've got to wrap in just a minute here.
Yeah, I would say too is hang out with other delusional people. Because if
Yes.
if they're, and I know we were talking about the comparison before, but if everybody's going along that same journey, it's a lot more fun and you can get there a lot quicker.
Yeah, and if you can handle that, if you can handle it and avoid the comparison, but you
Yeah.
can get into what I've heard called, and I love this term, co-opetition. You get
Yeah.
in cooperative competition with those other people, and that's why when you put the best athletes on the field, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yep.
Whether that's business, whether that's life, whether there's other things that you do, put yourself in a situation where you can be around people and not collapse under the weight of comparison, but raise yourself up because you have some competition to ask you to go further. You will increase your self-worth. You will increase your value. You will be able to charge more for what you do. And it will be an incredible gift that you start to give to others when you realize, and I love this. I love seeing people. I was just talking to somebody earlier today who's opening up their second location that I thought would never open another location. And I was like, dang, it's because they've been around other people. And they're like, well, they're not any
Yeah.
different than me. Like, I love that. There's a guy I
Yeah.
work with. He's 75, his business 75 times bigger than my business, And I was just like, sweet Lord. And every time I talk to him, he's like the nicest dude ever. And he's always like, you can do that. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I can do that. And I believe in myself differently when I'm around others. So surround yourself with people that will do that, and you will raise your worthiness, raise your aptitude, and you'll become more valuable to the people you interact with. Guys, thanks so much for being on today. Do me a favor. If you love today, do me a favor and say love it. Hit some hearts, hit some comments. Do it. Do something so I know what's going on. I can't wait to party with you guys again soon on another episode of Beautiful Minds. And I hope you feel more worthy and you feel like you can charge more than what you've been charging. Thanks so much for being on today. Holly, as always, it's a pleasure having you on Beautiful Minds. Thank you guys for being here. Bye for now. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you want to get access to our 7-day Beautiful Minds challenge, you can either comment below and just say 7-day, and I'll shoot you the information so you can get immediate access to that, or find me on any social media and just send me the message 7-day, and I'll make sure I get that out to you right away. And if you really enjoyed today's show, it would do me a huge favor if you went online, whether it was Spotify, Pandora, or iTunes, or any sort of podcast platform that you can find us on, and search for The Beautiful Minds Show, subscribe to our channel, and then make sure you give us a rating. Every time you give us a rating, it helps us get more eyeballs on our show and help more people have a more beautiful mind. Thanks again for joining us.